Welcome back to the Baseball Podcast. We're here with Brandon Plant to break down Israel's historic loss at the hands of Puerto
Yeah.
Rico. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off, Brandon. What happened?
Yeah, so Jose de Leon is what happened. I mean,
Mhm.
what a game. What a game. Going to this one, had a 4 ERA in the minors. Looked like a winnable game for Israel out of, quote unquote, winnable. I mean, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Dominican Republic are all insane in their own right. But out of the three, I guess Puerto Rico is the lesser of the three. And
Yeah.
so Israel, especially with Jose de Leon on the mound, not Barrios, not Stroman, this was an opportunity for Israel to maybe get an upset win. Early on, not so much. Jose de Leon looked fantastic. 10 strikeouts today through 5 innings and 2. And right away, Puerto Rico was all over Israel. Colton Gordon, the starting pitcher for Israel today, looked good in the first 2 outs. He lost the inning. He lost the game there. He just kind of lost control. It was 2 outs, 2 strikes, and suddenly it's 3-0 after 1 inning of play. And that's baseball. It's a game of inches, and Gordon didn't get some calls, and in the strike zone, and the Puerto Rican strike zone for their pitchers was a little interesting tonight. But I mean, when you don't get a hit and you get a perfect game, I mean, it doesn't matter if the strike zone was a little larger for Puerto Rico or whatever. Israel just lost his game, right? So Gordon gave it up there in the third. Tough outing for him. A young guy though, so you can't give him too much, of a hard time. But I really like Brandon Gold's game coming in after Gordon, really settled things down, looked fantastic. He had a couple of massive 1, 2, 3 innings there, a few strikeouts. He had a total line of 3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 runs, and he hit the 65 pitch limit. So after Gordon gave up those 3 runs, Gold did give up 3 runs as well in the second inning, but he really settled things down for Israel. And look, at the 6th or 7th inning, Israel was only down 6-0. Of course, that's a lot, but tag a couple of runs here, maybe they get an opportunity. Brandon Gold really gave them an opportunity tonight. So I have to give a bit of a shout out to Brandon Gold and the pitching staff for Israel. I mean, they really tried to keep it together as much as they could. The batting crew, they gave them no opportunity today to ever have a chance to win this one. And this is where really things unraveled for Israel. Bottom of the 5th, Joey Wagman came in for Israel, had the bases loaded with 2 outs and an 0-2 count. Again, game of inches. Israel had a chance to get out of it. Only down 6-0. Suddenly, Francisco Lindor launches a triple to deep right field off the wall to make it 9-0 for Puerto Rico. Probably a catchable ball there for Jock Peterson, but he's not the best. Right? Like it was off the wall, a little bad position-wise for Peterson, but he's not known for his defense. He's certainly not known as a center fielder. He's like learning it as he goes. So I'm going to cut him a bit of slack there. It's tough. It's a huge outfield there as well in Miami. But that one goes off the wall, 9-0. And, the inning ends. I just want to mention this. Ryan Lavarnway, beautiful pick off of Lindor.
That was nice.
What the hell are you doing, right? It's 9-0. What are you doing, Lindor? He already evaded Mengolf or whatever once, sliding in there to third, but Lavarnway got some payback there. That's probably the highlight of the night in terms of a big play for Israel. After that, not much happened. Daniel Fetterman pitching angry. I don't know about you guys. He looked angry through a stretch and release off the mound. Not happy with the way things were going for Israel. 1, 2, 3 inning in the bottom of the 7th for Daniel Fetterman, minor league guy. Great to see. All 3 were ground balls. Ty Kelly and Mengolf, the third baseman, had some tough work for them today, but I thought they played pretty well overall. And that's basically it. Israel falls 10-0 to Puerto Rico off a walk-off in the bottom of the 8th. It's the first time in World Baseball Classic history, that a team has got no hit, didn't even get a base runner on. And it was a weird way too, because Puerto Rico walked it off to seal the perfect game. So that's just the beauty of World Baseball Classic baseball, I guess. But once again, congratulations to Puerto Rico and Jose de Leon and the rest of the staff there. An incredible performance. 24 up, 24 down. Just got to give your hats off to them.
Yeah, this is the kind of game where, to be honest with you, it's bumming me out for the next 2 games, because I thought of it as obviously Nicaragua is a winnable game, and they actually they only won by 2 runs. They had a late game coming back, which is excellent, but I expected them to kind of do a little better in that game. And then this game, I mean, what do you say? You didn't get a single runner on base. You lost 10-0. I guess on the bright side, you took it to 8 innings before they got 10 runs, but that's not much of a bright side.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow they have the DR, which is one of the top three teams in the whole tournament, even though they suffered a loss already. And then you've got Venezuela, which is another top five team. So it's not going to get easier. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't expect them to get perfect gamed again, but I think yesterday we were sort of riding the high of, man, Team Israel did it. They came back, and that was awesome. And if that keeps them out of having to requalify, that was really all you needed. But
Yeah,
I think this is
especially in
showed.
this pool.
Yeah. This has sort of showed all the things that we were looking past yesterday of like they just don't have the starting pitching. And the thing that I thought was interesting was Dean Kramer was amazing yesterday, and it was great, but you only have one Dean Kramer. And so they threw out Colton Gordon, who he's a 24-year-old in single A ball. He has done well in single A ball, but he's not a major leaguer. And they used Brandon Gold to piggyback off of him, who looked pretty good.
Yeah.
But now you can't use Brandon Gold tomorrow. So they're going to throw out Jacob Steinmetz, who is cool. He's an Orthodox Jew. That's a cool story. He's like a good prospect, but he's like 19 years old. So I'm not confident with Jacob Steinmetz going up against Manny Machado and Rafael Devers and all of that.
I'll tell you what, though, because look, if we get blown out again tomorrow, you got Dean Kramer and Robert Stock for Venezuela. Those are two capable arms. Dean Kramer, MLB guy, 3-4 innings for sure. I'm not saying for sure, but I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Dean Kramer. Mm-hmm. Robert Stock definitely can give you 3 innings. I mean, Israel, tomorrow, like I said the other day, I don't know if it was in the preview or in the post-game recap, Ethan, but Israel, quote unquote, has a scheduled loss tomorrow. We're all expecting a loss. I hope Jacob Steinmetz, goes off. It's incredible. First Orthodox Jew to be drafted, now pitching for Israel, starting for them. Great story, but it's unexpected that they're going to win. Like, it's not expected. But having Dean Kramer and Robert Stock with, Blyer and Wagman and, Fishman and all these guys in the bullpen, Venezuela, hell of a team, beat DR, but that's a game where our pitching can actually go man-to-man and actually challenge Venezuela, because Stock played in Asia, hell of a career there, good experience. Kramer, enough said. So that's the game where Israel actually has a shot, but it's up to the batting core, like you guys have said. You can't win without guys on base. So tomorrow, I think that's going to be a game where, if we could get a couple of hits, I'll just be happy after this one. But I think for Venezuela, I'm going to stay optimistic here. Dean Kramer and Robert Stock against that lineup, it gives us a shot as long as the batting core can get something going.
Yeah, it seems to me a little bit like tomorrow. Tomorrow reads a little bit like these games that the Czech Republic has been playing, where, it's less, but yeah, we're going to win this, and more, let's prove that we belong on the same field as these guys. So, I think they'll have an opportunity to bounce back tomorrow. And yeah, like, we know that a lot of these guys can hit. It's not like, this is a team that's going to get perfect gamed all the time. They have good hitters in this lineup, like we discussed. And then when you got Kramer and Stock going against Venezuela, I mean, like, if there's anybody on this team who's going to be able to handle that lineup in any way, it's going to be those two. And then you really are just, you're hoping that maybe you catch Venezuela on an off day with their lineup, you can shut them down. And maybe do something a little bit like what Australia did to Korea and stun them a little bit. That would be a big win for Israel for sure.
You guys can both agree with me. I mean, Dean Kramer, Robert Stock, both can go 4 innings, and then you have Blyer and these other guys in the bullpen. That is actually a winnable game. I think maybe I don't know. I'm definitely biased, but I think there's actually a chance. I mean, those are 2 very capable arms. They both have great stuff. Robert Stock against Nicaragua, we spoke about this yesterday. I mean, he had some great movement on those pitches. I really, really was impressed with Robert Stock. So, I mean, maybe I'm getting myself a little too hyped up for this, but I think Dean Kramer and Robert Stock, if that's the plan, if they both can go in against Venezuela, it gives Israel a shot. It does.
It's one of those things where, you can look at it optimistically and say, yeah, maybe they'll have a shot against Venezuela. I mean, who knows? Dominican Republic lost. I mean, I think if we're being completely honest, we're probably looking at 2 more losses for Israel. But the most important thing is that they did lock up a win against Nicaragua, however difficult it might have been. So they're barring Nicaragua upsetting, in the future, they've locked up their spot in the next one. So it was interesting to see Ian Kinsler. You could tell, and I don't know if this was his plan or if it was because the game was starting to slip away, but you could tell he was managing it for tomorrow. He put in, I mean, Brandon Gold was probably one of his starters, so I'm not sure what that was about. But then he had,
I think it was just to control the bleeding. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you
I
just don't
guess
want to
there's
get
some
embarrassed.
length out of the bullpen because he only got one inning from Gordon. But then he had Fetterman and Weinberger finish out the game with Wagman, and like those are not his top tier guys. Wagman's an indie ball, and the other two guys are young, and they're like Blyer, Fishman, probably Rossman, Zach Weiss. Those are the guys that are going to put it in a winnable game. So you could tell he's keeping his guys. If not for tomorrow, then for the next day. So it's they still have a shot. They still have all their pitchers, and the offense can't get any worse than it was today. So we're still waiting on a Jock Peterson, blast. We're still waiting on Danny Valencia to do something. Alex Dickerson looked great in the game against Nicaragua. So it could happen. It could happen. It's I think it's one of those things where everything that could go wrong for Israel did go wrong, and all of their weaknesses were on full display. And obviously, you got to give credit to Puerto Rico. It was a hell of a game. They didn't give up a single base runner, and they mercy ruled them. They put up 10 runs. So,
yeah, and Puerto Rico capitalized on their opportunities. Also, I mean, like that Lindor triple was one of the biggest backbreakers I've seen so far in the tournament. The only bigger one might be the Joey Meneses 3-run homer against the U.S., which we talked about a little bit earlier. We're a little disappointed in that one.
Yeah, look, I mean, Israel, like I've said already, was in it at that point. Look, 6-0. You probably weren't going to come back, but they could have made it interesting at least. And then, of course, like you just said, definitely a backbreaking triple to deep left, or sorry, deep right,
right center
field. Jock Peterson, once again, probably a catchable ball, but he's not a center fielder, so I'm really not going to go, or I'm not going to harp on him. But Tom, I want to ask you this: Matt Mervis has kind of been invisible, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he's hardly alone. I'm looking at the box score. I'm seeing a lot of zeros. Well. Like, it might just be, I mean, this has kind of been an issue with major league players the entire time that the World Baseball Classic has been a thing. Some of these guys just are not ready for the season yet because it's spring training for these guys. And, you're seeing that with the U.S. team as well. Some of these guys who are awesome hitters just absolutely have not showed up yet at all. Like Trout looks a little off. He's getting on base a lot. But, this is the thing with all American professional players. Like they've been back in season for what, like 2-3 weeks?
Barely.
Whereas, I mean, a lot of the guys on Puerto Rico, they're all MLB players too. So it's not like that's an excuse. But I have a feeling that that's probably what's affecting somebody like Mervis. I mean, Peterson's not really hitting the ball that well either. I mean, nobody on this team is. But
Dickerson had a couple of singles yesterday.
Yeah, but
so
yeah,
I do want to give a bit of a shout out to the bottom third of the lineup. They carried us yesterday, which I mean shows once again that the top of the lineup really isn't performing, right? That kind of really shows it there. By the way, Garrett Stubbs, we haven't mentioned this, out today with a knee injury. Phillies and Israel worked in coordination. He wanted to stay an extra day to see if he's good for tomorrow. So he wanted to stay. He wants to play for this team. So shout out to him. Hopefully he's okay. He had that knee injury, woke up sore, according to Ian, Kinsler, the manager. So we'll see. That's definitely a big factor into this lineup. That you lose an MLB guy, especially for a team like Israel, not the deepest, in the batting core. That's a big loss. So definitely not.
He's their hottest hitter.
Yeah, right. So I mean, it's not a game changer when you really look at the final scheme of things. We got a perfect game, mercy rule type of perform. Like it probably wouldn't have made a difference, but at the same time, who knows? Maybe he could have got a hit. Maybe he could have got a home run. He's one of our better hitters, so that's definitely a big loss. And I definitely, if you're watching this tomorrow or later tonight, before that DR game tomorrow night, hopefully he's back. But I really wanted to say that because I'm glad to see it. Really is. It means a lot to me. I'm sure to you guys that he wants to stick around and maybe play tomorrow and represent Israel. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it is cool to see these guys, start to get some pride for these teams. That's the kind of thing that I think we talked about this when you came on first, how like there are teams like Israel and Italy that have to rely on these, American guys who qualify. And, when you get guys who are able to find that passion, that's how you're going to be able to build your team until you have a successful domestic program. So seeing somebody like Stubbs, who Stubbs is JT Realmuto's backup, but he's on the world stage. He's going to be a rock solid player. As we saw, he's their hottest hitter. So, he's somebody that maybe this team can build around a little bit. And Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of guys out there who could play for Team Israel and make this a real force to be reckoned with. So the more guys that you have, becoming Team Israel lifers, the more likely it is that you'll start to draw some of those more elite players that they haven't been able to get so far.
Yeah, well, and like you were saying, like the most important thing is obviously you want to requalify for the next tournament, which they probably did. And then the most important thing is just building up, you want to have good Israeli players, but that's probably not going to happen in the near future. So for the next tournament, you want to try to build up the cachet as much as you can to entice the MLB stars. And like I was saying earlier, they just don't have the pitching, the starting pitching depth. Dean Kramer's really good, but you only got one Dean Kramer. But next tournament, if you can stick around, if you can show people that, you belong there, maybe you can get a Dylan Cease or a Max Fried, or maybe Jared Schuster will turn into something. And then,
Eli Morgan even.
Eli Morgan, yeah, Eli Morgan was good. Yeah. Scott F. Ross was hurt this time; he'd be around. So, like, there are pitchers out there that maybe couldn't have played for a certain reason or chose not to. But if you can keep building the program and showing that even if you're not going to win the whole tournament, you belong there, and just solidify your spot. Hopefully, that'll go a long way towards putting a better team on the field, basically, for next time. Which they got exposed today. That's all we can say about it. It's one game. Who knows? They could go out and win 2 tomorrow or in the next day. I doubt it, but it could happen. It's tournament baseball. We just saw Great Britain knock off Colombia, which nobody saw happening. In Australia, we keep seeing these upsets. U.S. and Mexico, we keep seeing these upsets. So
yeah,
if Israel won another game,
USA
awesome.
too soon.
Exactly. Yeah. So if Israel can win another one, it'd be awesome. We got our win against Nicaragua, which was what we needed. I don't know what else to say about this Puerto Rico game, man. I don't have anything else.
Yeah, it's tough to find upsides in that, but I think we did our best. Yeah.
Although I do want to commend Puerto Rico. They lost Carlos Correa, which seemed like kind of a death blow, and they were starting a guy in Jose De Leon he's like 30 years old. He's a failed prospect. I don't think he even saw the majors this year, or if maybe a cup of coffee. Not what many would call a good major league pitcher, and he went out and shoved against major league hitters. Jock Peterson, Alex Dickerson, Matt Mervis, a hot prospect. Like he
mowed him down.
Yeah, props to Jose De Leon. Props to the Puerto Rico bullpen. Obviously, their offense was on fire, and they capitalized on every Israel mistake. So you got to give it to them. Israel's faced some stiff competition. Nicaragua looked really good yesterday, considering what we thought of them coming into the tournament. And it's going to be a tough road. And I guess the only thing you say about it is they're facing a lot of good competition, and today they didn't, but tomorrow and the next day, hopefully they'll hang in there and, put up some respectable games, even if you don't come out on the winning side. So I don't know. You got any other thoughts, Brandon?
100%. I absolutely agree with you there. And once again, like you said it yourself, Nicaragua, that win is all we needed. Everything else is a cherry on top, right? So this is I think it's a learning experience. It's a humbling experience. I mean, Israel has really been on the high. This is like the first real blowout loss Israel has ever suffered. I think the only other one would be Netherlands in 2017. I mean, that's really it. I mean, we lost 8-3 to Japan, but we were with them till the 8th inning. And then we gave up 8, scored 3 in the bottom or the top half of the 9th. But, that's because of the lack of depth in 2017. I honestly think if we had a couple more arms in 2017, watch out. But, that's the past. This is now. This is the worst loss probably in Israel baseball history up to this point in terms of like being on the world stage. So it's a humbling experience. Use this, learn from it. Don't let it happen again. Now, DR tomorrow, it doesn't get any easier, of course. But as I've said many times, Dean Kramer and hopefully Robert Stock as well for Venezuela gives you a shot. Like you guys have already said, there's plenty of MLB at-bats in this batting core for Israel. Dickerson, Peterson, Mervis, Galoff. Ty Kelly has experience. I mean, I'm missing some names. Valencia, Lavarnway. I mean, there's a bunch of names there, and I'm missing names even that have good MLB experience. This is a lineup that is better than most in the World Baseball Classic for the lower half teams because of how much experience we have. So whether that's AAA, whether that's MLB, Israel's got it. They just have to put it all together. So tough loss tonight. Tomorrow, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess. We'll see what happens. Wednesday, I do think we have a chance if Stock and Kramer are available. I do think.
Yeah, one more thing before we wrap it up. Brandon, we have a segment called Squash the Beef. If you want to admit you're ever wrong about something, not right now, but I would like to squash the beef with Ian Kinsler and the rest of the decision makers at, Team Israel, because I remember coming into this, I was talking to Sean about it. We were going over his Israel roster before he put it out. And I was saying, I was like, Nicaragua, that's a winnable game. You might want to start one of your other guys that you don't need as much and save Dean Kramer for Puerto Rico. And I was like, I look at Puerto Rico, they don't have Correa, they don't have a ton of depth. If you start Dean Kramer, maybe you can sneak one out. And Sean was kind of like, yeah, but it doesn't really matter that much because you're still probably going to lose to Venezuela and DR. So you might as well lock up the one win and make sure you don't requalify. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like they should, because then if you go on a run, whatever, I was wrong. They can't handle They couldn't handle this Puerto Rico team. Dean Kramer was obviously the right decision. The bats didn't really come yesterday, so they needed Kramer to shut him down. Yeah. It was the right decision. Ian Kinsler, I apologize, and whoever else was involved in that decision making, I apologize. I would like to squash the beef.
All right, I consider this beef fully squashed. I think you guys can kiss and make up. I'm assuming there's going to be some tickets in the future for you now. So I think we got it all cleared up between you and Ian.
Exactly. Anything else you want to say, Brandon, before we call it quits? Or do you want to just go and cry now?
No crying, and that's exactly a great leeway to what I was about to say. Look, tough loss. I mean, you can call it embarrassing. I don't think it's embarrassing. I think it happens. It had to happen eventually in WBC history. If it never happened before, it was eventually going to happen. It happened to us. It happens. We are here in one of the top tournament for baseball with the top teams, the top countries in the world. We beat Nicaragua. We're likely going to qualify for the next tournament. We've made the country proud. We've made the Jewish people proud with that win. And the fact that we're here performing and look, 10-0, perfect game, blah, blah, blah. Sure. It's not 18-8. It's not 20-2. I mean, we kept it close, and you could call it a moral victory if you want. I don't care. I'm proud of this program, how far we've gone in less than 10 years. 10 years ago, this program it barely existed, okay? So the fact that we're here now against Puerto Rico and DR and Venezuela and 2017, of course, and the Olympics in 2020 as well, it's been an incredible ride. And yeah, a bit of a bump here, but let's see how they respond. And look, if we lose the next two, whatever. We won that game. We got more experience, and we continue to show that Israel will be a place for baseball for years to come. And that's all that matters to me personally. So tough loss. It happens. It's baseball. Let's see how it goes tomorrow for our boys.
Yeah, agreed 100%. Tom, you got anything?
I got nothing to add. That was eloquent as hell.
It was.
All right. Say one more thing, though. I want to give a shout out to at IL Baseball, whoever's managing the Twitter account. Beautiful tweets. It's fantastic tweeting. I just have to give a bit of a shout out. Kept me entertained through that boring game.
Yeah, go follow him. Brandon, where can people find your beautiful tweets?
Yeah, so your timeline's definitely clogged with my stuff, so I apologize. But _Brandon on Twitter. If you want to follow me there, I'd really appreciate it. I'll shoot you a follow back. If you want to follow or, engage with hockey, I'm a Sens guy. Sens Talk on YouTube, you can check it out. But _Brandon on Twitter. Big Israel guy throughout the year as well for all the tournaments, whatever they are, hockey, baseball, soccer, you name it. So thank you all for having me here and really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, man. We'll hopefully have some more wins to talk about later.
Hopefully.
All right. Take it easy, man.
All right, Brandon. See you.